It's Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, a holding pattern with Europe, Chuck Schumer's 3 keys for Democrats in the midterms, and why I struggle to analyze Russia next on the AM Update. President Trump met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, along with every major European leader yesterday at the White House to discuss what's going on with Russia, what's on the table for peace, and what could come next. When asked what security guarantees that Ukraine would need to make a deal with Russia, here's how Volodymyr Zelensky responded.
Everything. And it includes 2 parts. First, strong Ukrainian army. That's what I began to discuss with your colleagues. And it's a lot about weapon and people and training missions.
President Trump said all those attending the meeting are on the same page, he thinks.
All of us would obviously prefer an immediate ceasefire while we work on a lasting peace. And maybe something like that could happen. As of this moment, it's not happening. But President Zelensky and President Putin can talk a little bit more about that. You know, in the 6 or so wars that we stopped, we haven't had a ceasefire. And so I don't know that it's necessary. You can do it through the war. But it would be, I like the ceasefire from another standpoint. You immediately stop the killing. But I believe a peace agreement at the end of all of this is something that's very attainable.
According to the German outlet Bild, who was the first to get this scoop, apparently President Trump suspended for moments his meeting with these European leaders in order to call President Putin of Russia. So still waiting to hear some definitive word out of the White House, Washington, D.C., on just what was accomplished during that meeting. Well, prior to that meeting at the White House, President Trump made this announcement on social media, on Truth Social, quote, "I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterms. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots and voting, and everybody, in particular the Democrats, knows this, and I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax using voter machines that are complete and total disaster must end now." In completely unrelated news. So I'm glad. I mean, go off, obviously. I'd be totally fine with paper ballots. Do whatever Florida does. Maybe they use voting machines in Florida. Do whatever they do. They're a huge state, and they always have their elections counted before the evenings end. But as far as the voting machines go, this news broke yesterday morning as well. Newsmax is going to pay $67 million to settle a lawsuit accusing it of defaming a voting equipment company by spreading lies about President Trump's 2020 election efforts. The settlement comes after Fox paid a $787.5 million suit to settle a similar matter back in 2023. Newsmax paid what court papers describe as $40 million to settle a libel lawsuit from a different voting machine manufacturer, Smartmatic, who also was the target of different theories about what they did during the 2020 election. This one, of course, this latest lawsuit from Dominion Voting System, $67 million. Say what you want about Dominion, but man, they are cleaning up in the lawsuit category after the 2020 election. Well, the next election on the radar, I know everybody's electioned out. I heard that over the weekend. The next election is still around the corner. Next year's midterm elections. Senator Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, joined Jack Schlossberg. He's a podcast host, Democrat insider, I believe an heir to the Kennedy fame. He interviewed Chuck Schumer and asked him what his 3 keys to Democrat victories in the midterms will look like.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the Senate map is looking?
Okay, so this is sort of interesting. As I said, we have to do 3 things. 1, show people who Trump is and bring his numbers below 40. 2, create a strong vision for America so that people have faith in the future of America, that if Democrats get in, it's not going to be more of the same. The third thing we have to do is recruit good candidates. And frankly, a good candidate in New York is different than a good candidate in a place like North Carolina.
Well, Democrats are saying one of those steps is already filled. Sherrod Brown in Ohio, he announced he's running for Senate in the Buckeye State. I don't believe there's anything that Democrats can actually affirmatively do to win the election. They have to hope that the economy is tanking and that President Trump, especially on the issue of accountability for the deep state, hope that they don't follow through on some of their campaign promises. But I don't think there's anything Democrats can do within their control to affect the outcome of the midterm elections. Either it's going to be a natural blowback like most midterms are after a presidential election, or it's going to be a result of a lack of energy from the Republican side because either the economy is not doing well or they're not satisfied with the results of the Trump administration. Moving on, Attorney General Pam Bondi is trying to actually hold some blue states and blue jurisdictions accountable. Here she is on Fox News yesterday talking about actions to go after sanctuary jurisdictions.
They had sanctuary policies here in D.C. No longer. They've been working with us. You have to tell us if there are illegal aliens in your database. If we're arresting someone, we are going to know if they're an illegal alien. So last week I sent out 32 letters to mayors around the country, and I believe to 7 governors telling them you better comply or you're next.
Strongly worded letters from Attorney General Pam Bondi. Hopefully she follows through with those threats with actual action. Well, the Trump administration and the Office of Personnel Management has sent new guidance to all federal workers and insurance providers, instructing them to no longer cover meatball surgery in the name of gender. The memo says, quote, for plan year 2026, chemical and surgical modification of an individual's sex traits through medical interventions to include gender transition services will no longer be covered under the FEHB or PSHB programs, end quote. So make no mistake, this new directive from the Trump administration making sure that all government insurance agencies are not paying for meatball surgery and chemical castration in the name of gender. That ends today. Of course, that's all taxpayer-funded. This is progress. This is progress. I saw Charlie Kirk say the other day, a few years ago, you couldn't say men, trans women, whatever those are. Women are women and men are men. You couldn't do that on social media without being censored. So this is progress. But it's the type of progress, taxpayer-funded chemical castration and meatball surgery. That just shows you. It's illustrative of how far down the rabbit hole we are. Talking about down the rabbit hole, Omar Fattah, Minneapolis mayoral candidate, held a rally the other day. Not an American flag in sight. A bunch of Somalians showed up. And again, this is the year of our Lord 2025 in the United States of America. Here's what that rally sounded like.
Congresswoman at the Shane.
Yeah.
Just as the that's an Omar Fattah rally in Minneapolis, just like the founding fathers designed and anticipated, is it not? Other Democrat shenanigans. Here is Rhode Island, where Assistant Attorney General Devin Flanagan was arrested and charged with trespassing after allegedly refusing to leave a restaurant late last week. I believe this was on Thursday evening. Body cam footage has been released. Listen to this.
So we gotta go.
No, it is. That's law. I'm an AG. I'm an AG.
I'm an AG.
I don't give a shit. Let's go. We're going. Let's go. We're leaving.
We're leaving. Please don't put your hands on us.
Can you get your children out of here? I don't know why.
I'm sorry, what?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Come on, we're waiting. They're two full-grown women and mothers. All right.
There's the handcuffs going on.
You're just
I'm an AG. I'm an AG, she says as she's let off in handcuffs. Again, that's Democrat, Rhode Island Assistant Attorney General Devin Flanagan. That story caught my eye the other day. Just the singularity of an outsized ego. Do you know who I am? As a matter of fact, I do not. Get in the squad car. Well, when we come back, these numbers are jumping off the charts. I'll tell you what that is. The most popular Democratic names, well, there is some new data. You're probably not going to be too surprised. And Chris Pratt makes fun of Trump derangement syndrome. That's coming up next. Saw these numbers yesterday. The estimated conversions to Catholicism in the United States going up to the moon, as the kids say. New converts, new adult converts to the Catholic Church, down around 50,000 back in 2021. In 2024, the estimated new conversion numbers to the Catholic Church, 160,000. 40,000 in 2021, 50,000, I'm sorry, in 2021, up to 160,000 estimated in 2024. That would put it on par with levels back around the 2000s, 2000, 2002. Saw some similar stats out of the United Kingdom. Saw some similar stats out of Russia recently. That new converts to, it would be the Orthodox Church, I believe, in Russia, or the Russian Orthodox Church. It would be just all-cause Christian churches in the United Kingdom. New converts, people going back to church in Western civilization. And I just don't think you can deny it at this point. That doesn't mean that the forces who oppose the church aren't going to win elections for the next 100 years or so. I do think there is actually an awakening. Well, the same pollster who put together that information for a number of new converts to the Catholic Church is Zachary Donini. He's with Decision Desk HQ as well as Yale Polling. He also did some interesting research on the list of the most Democratic names in America. The percentage of voters registered with either major party who are registered as Democrats. Here are the most popular, most Democratic names. Number 10, Ania. 95% of those with that name are Democrats. Latoya at number 9, 95.2% of those who are Democrats, or those who are named Latoya, are Democrats. Shanika at number 8. Tamika at number 7. Ania at number 6. Shamika at number 5. Shamika at number 4, spelled differently. 95.7% of those with the name Shamika with an I are Democrats. Imani at number 3, Shaniqua at number 2, and Ebony, 96.1% of people with the name Ebony are Democrats. I just thought that was funny. Also, something else, or someone else who is funny, is actor Chris Pratt, who joined Bill Maher during his kind of after-hours show, talking about just how ridiculous he finds those with Trump derangement syndrome. Listen to this.
In politics, you inherit enemies, and when you jump on the bandwagon with who is the most divisive president ever, it makes sense that you're going to be made to look terrible, and so I don't know what to believe, because it's not like I sit with Bobby and I go, so hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about. It's like we're just playing cards or playing Mafia or having fun or having dinner. I'm not going to pick his brain to find out exactly which of those things are true. I just kind of assume that none of them are, and for the most part, I wish him well, man. I hope there's certain things that he oversees that seem to be supported in a bipartisan way, like getting terrible toxic stuff out of our kids' food. I think that's a great thing, and so if you do that, that's amazing. I'd hate to be so mired in hatred for the president that any success from his administration is something I'd have an allergic reaction to. To be like, oh, well, if they do it, I don't want it to happen. I'll I'll put Clorox in my children's cereal myself. It's like, come on, be reasonable here. There's certain things that would be a good thing to have. I want them all to be successful.
I think Chris Pratt, very popular actor, probably speaks for a great cross-section of people in the United States. I hope he does anyway, which is like, I don't like everything that I see all the time out of this administration. Don't even like the personalities, don't like the policies sometimes, but you know what? There are some objectively good things that we hope to happen, that we would hope happen. And hey, I've been pretty consistent on this as well. I've said for years, I think this was back in 2022, one of the most righteous pieces of legislation that was signed across the country was actually Gavin Newsom in the People's Republic of California. They were one of the first states to ban, I think it was Red 40. It was a slew of toxic food dyes. That's good. I think it's an okay role of government to actually ban poison from our food supply. 20 years ago, if you would have told me I was saying that, I would say, oh, you're just into nanny states. No, I've had a change of heart on that. I do think it's a role of government. And now here's this latest clip from Jubilee. That's where different people of different worldviews, perspectives, backgrounds, right wing, left wing, come and debate each other. A couple of black young individuals debated one another on the issue of reparations. The conservative dude took on this very liberal woman. Listen to this. I thought it was a great clip.
You can give everyone here like a $50,000 check, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently. A $50,000 check, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we have the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're going to start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you acting right now? Do you really believe
I'm telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now.
So that young man came to this debate with little facts and figures. Facts and figures, examples for why he believes what he believes. And the debate tactic employed by that liberal woman was, and I quote, it's a Latin word, condescension. Condescension. That was all she had. Just condescension. That's all that she had. She was confronted with facts. She was confronted with examples, contemporary examples that blew up her narrative about reparations. And all she has is condescension. You cannot debate your way out of spiritual blindness. You just can't. That is a calcified heart that you just heard there. It's very sad. But racialism is a cancer. It's got to be cut out. And it is absolutely destroying, and has the capacity, at least, to destroy this country. So good on that young man for actually bringing the best facts and figures he could to that debate. And you also noticed something he employed there? He asked several questions. You can bring all the facts and figures you want to any debate you want. Ultimately, when you're dealing with a calcified heart, the best thing often is to just ask questions, because that has the best chance of actually pricking the assumptions of the person you're debating against. And finally, air analysis, slightly acidic, mostly necessary. I hinted at this yesterday in passing when it comes to Russia. I have such a difficult time analyzing Russia, and it's for a very simple reason. You know, over the weekend, there were multiple points when Russian President Vladimir Putin paid respects to fallen Russian soldiers or Soviet soldiers. There's some sort of grave or memorial on a land lease program. Back around, I think, World War II, there were some Russians training, using Alaska to train when we were allies in World War II. A training mission went wrong and perished on American soil. And so the Americans built a memorial and allowed Russians to bury their soldiers there. Vladimir Putin, during his trip to Alaska, he went and laid flowers and knelt and did the sign of the cross in front of each one of those graves. There's also a memorial to America and Russia's alliance in World War II first thing that he did when he got here to Alaska is he went and paid his respects at that memorial. At least that's what we're being told. And it's hard for me to see those examples and not be somewhat inspired by Vladimir Putin. Hey, at least he's got some sort of priorities right. But then one part of my brain says, wait a minute. That's just, he's a former KGB operative, okay? He's just doing this for propaganda purpose. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably right. And then the other part of my brain thinks, wait a minute. Is this other part of my brain just telling me that because I've been so propagandized by my own government that I can't help but think, hey, when some leader, thug though he may be, is showing some degree of humility and humanity, to just disregard that? You see what I'm saying here? It's so difficult for me to analyze Russia because there has been such a big propaganda war, I believe, from both the United States and Russia itself. Now, I do believe, I just think it's a fact, the Soviet Union was a miserable failure. A miserable failure. I alluded to this in passing, that I saw these stats over the weekend that over the last 40 years, the percentage of Russians, based on the best available polling that we have, the percentage of Russians who describe themselves as Christians has increased precipitously since the fall of the Soviet Union. Their god of communism failed them, so they're going back to the one true God, if you actually believe that information. So I want to believe the best about Russia. I think it's a fact the Soviet Union was an utter failure, and if you believe those facts and figures that I just laid out for you, it seems like the Russians believe it was a failure as well because they're going back to church. So what to do with Vladimir Putin? It is true he was a former KGB agent. It's also true that at times, whether it's for propaganda or that's what he truly believes and he's just trying to be accepted into the Western world, he's shown humility and humanity. That's why I have a difficult time analyzing Russia. I want to believe the best about people. I don't think Putin is the greatest guy ever. I just think there's far too many people who end up disappeared or with really bad injuries, just, as one does, drinking coffee and, got some sort of radioactive agent slipped into my drink this morning. Okay, not a great guy. But at the same time, I do believe two things can be true at the same time. And I think he's acting in what he believes is the best interest for the security long-term of his country. It's just hard because I don't know which way I'm being propagandized. That's going to do it for a Tuesday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntire, and this is the AM Update.